Alright, the time has finally come. Here we are, back with Hawk Talk. So, finally, after 2 directors have been cut from this movie, we are finally on our 3rd director and hopefully our final one. If you haven't heard the news, Flashpoint finally has a director and 2 writers, and I'm excited. Mainly because this was a long time coming. It's been very drawn out. I feel like there's been a lack of DCEU news, and I mainly believe that's because all the fake news. I literally have no superhero movie news left on my Facebook feed, on my Instagram feed, on even my Twitter feed. It's just not there anymore. I can't handle the fake news of superhero movies anymore. It's ridiculous. So I've deleted all of it. But every once a month I will go and look for crucial sites that will tell me the right thing at the right time. And now, since I'm getting this from multiple sources, we're going to talk about it. So Flashpoint has gotten a new director. This is the 3rd director. The first director was Phil and Chris Miller, as you'll know them from 21 and 22 Jump Street. They were fired. I was so happy, but that was when this movie was The Flash. Like, when this movie was The Flash, that's when I got excited. You know, that's when I was like, okay, it's a Flash movie. Then when we had the 2nd director, it was still The Flash, and we had the director of Dope, I believe the movie was called. I never saw that movie, and then that director was actually fired for trying to change it a little too much. And then finally, the 3rd director now is the director of Game Night, the new movie that just came out. It's like a comedy thriller. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you see it because I've heard very good things. I plan on seeing it very soon. But I think that's a good director, but now I'm kind of switched on it because we have a Flashpoint movie now. We don't have The Flash. We don't have The Flash going on an adventure doing all these things. We have a Flashpoint movie, which is a dark Flash comic, which I feel like if done wrong, it could be made too funny and it would flop. And I really highly think that that could be a problem with this. I feel like when you take a comic book like Flashpoint, which is one of the biggest comic books in DC history, if you don't do it right, people are going to be very, very upset. When you had Batman vs. Superman, a lot of people hated it and a lot of people liked it. But mainly people liked it because they did that Dark Knight Returns themed Batman so well. But now you have a kid playing Flash named Ezra Miller who is coming in to do his first Flash movie, and he literally has to go from this funny chuckle guy who can't really control his powers to this guy who has wrecked a timeline and he's got to learn how to fix it. And the big problem there is that I feel like they're going to do what they did in Justice League, and it kind of scares me to a point. Because if you go in there and do what you do in Justice League, which is try to make it lighter than it should be, and Zack Snyder showed us that this Justice League was supposed to be dark, and I highly wish that it would have been dark, because DC comics are meant to be dark. They're not supposed to be on that lighter level with Marvel comics, and I'm not saying Marvel comics can't be dark, but I'm saying DC has to be dark. It has to be. That is what it's built on. That is what it's based on. Grim stories that make us go, wow. But here's the thing. Now, I'm also going to say the writers are the writers of Spider-Man Homecoming. That's more comedy added on to the more comedy. I feel like this movie is going to be more lighter than Justice League, and which brings me to the point of where I don't even want to see it. I feel like DC needs to get back to that Batman vs. Superman feel, but they need to do it in a way that it can work. I was watching GameSpot the other day talk about how Batman was a lot different in Batman vs. Superman than he was in Justice League, and I highly agree with that. As you can see, I like Justice League. I really do. It's just not as good as the other films. I highly liked Batman vs. Superman, and when they lightened it down and definitely cut a lot of time from Justice League, that crucially bothered it, and I really hated that. But the big thing here is I just really hope that Flashpoint isn't funny. I hope it's serious. I hope we do a good story, but I hope we can do it in about 2.5 hours, not just like an hour and 59 minutes. I hope they make a big movie and Warner Bros. Finally decides that they can't keep cutting film because they think it'll please the fans or whatever. And I highly recommend that they do not cut Flashpoint. Please do not cut Flashpoint. Do not make it too funny. Just make it right and make it so.